Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Hello, Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back. Today's DAF Yomi is GITTEN Samach Zayin, and we are holding 13 lines from the top. Says the Gemara Gufa. Let's go back and review what we have learned yesterday. Amar Shmuel, Amar Rebbe. So Shmuel quotes Rebbe that halachak Rabbi Yossi. We follow Rabbi Yossi's shita. What does he say? The Amar, he tells us, mili, verbal instructions cannot be passed on. Mili loy mimseran l'shliach. So this goes back to the Mishnah where a husband turned to 3 people who typically constitute Bezdin. They have a din of Bezdin. Asks them to write a get on his behalf. According to Rabbi Meir, the Bezdin has the ability to delegate that job further, to pass on that task to other people. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. You see, if he's a shliach l'hoilacha who has a get in his hands, he can go ahead and make another shliach l'hoilacha, as we have learned back in the beginning of Maseches Gittin, because he has something tangible, he has something physical that he can hand over to the next shliach to carry out. But merely words, verbal instructions, says Rabbi Yossi, that cannot be passed on. If he instructed these people to do something on his behalf, it's personal to them, and they have to fulfill that task. Halach Rabbi Yossi, and that's how Rabbi paskins, like Rabbi Yossi, the Amar, who says, mili loy mimseran l'shliach, one cannot delegate verbal instructions. You cannot pass that on to the next person. Amar lefanav Reb Shimon bar Rebbe, so Reb Shimon, Rebbe's own son, asked him, why are you paskening like Rabbi Yossi? Me'achash Rabbi Meir, v'chanina ish oinoi cholken Rabbi Yossi. Once we know that Rabbi Meir and Chanina ish oinoi, both were mentioned in the Mishnah yesterday, are in full disagreement with Rabbi Yossi. They hold that you can pass on mili. If so, ma'ara Rebbe loymar halak Rabbi Yossi. So why then did Rebbe choose Rabbi Yossi's opinion over theirs? Amar loy, Rebbe responds, shtoik b'ni shtoik, my son, please be quiet, meaning you have to appreciate Rabbi Yossi's rationale. Lo ra'isa as Rabbi Yossi, you never saw Rabbi Yossi, you never experienced him. Il malay ra'isa, if you were to have merited to see Rabbi Yossi, you too would have been impressed and taken by his opinion. Because Rabbi Yossi was nimukai imoy. Whenever he would state his opinion, it wasn't just a dry opinion. It was explained. He always had his pirush that accompanied his presentation. And you too would have been convinced. The Sanya, we have a Brisa, which is an Avos Rabbi Nassan, elaborating on the many qualities found amongst the Chachamim, including Rabbi Yossi, who was called Nimukai Imoy. The Sanya, Isai ben Yehuda. So Isai ben Yehuda listed a list of Chachamim and elaborated on their personalities and on their unique approaches to learning. Hayamayna shvachan shel Chachamim. He would enumerate the praises of certain Chachamim. First amongst them was Rabbi Meir, Chacham v'Seifer. He was a big Chacham and he was a Seifer, a scribe. You know, the Gemara Chul Daf Tes says that a Talmud Chacham should learn other, master other holy trades as well. Ksav and Shchita and Mila and Kesher Shel Tefillin. So Rabbi Meir was a Chacham and he was complimented by the fact that he also knew the Safras trade. Rabbi Yisrael Belsky, that's all. He was known to be a master of all holy trades. He was a Chacham, he was a Sheikhet, a Mayel, well-rounded, a Chacham. So it wasn't just his learning, but it was his depth of analysis and his understanding the sciences and the Chachma of the Bria, as well as incorporating all the various talents that a Chacham should have, Mila and Shchita and everything else. A well-rounded Talmud Chacham. So So that encapsulates Rabbi Meir. Chacham b'seif. Rabbi Yehuda was Chacham l'kisha yirtze. Tosfos learns that in a way he can go deeper than Rabbi Meir. And he brings a lashon. Rabbi Meir was charif u'maksha, was sharp. Rabbi Yehuda was masun u'masik. Sometimes, you have a person who's sharp like a razor. But then there's something called masun u'masik. He's more into analyzing things. And in a way that allows you to perhaps go even deeper. But it takes a while. It takes time, step by step. A different type of approach to comprehension and learning. Interesting that the Maratz Chias brings a different pshat in Chacham l'kisha yirtze. He says that Rabbi Yehuda's quality was that even when he was, overwhelmed by various, issues and distractions, he was able to extract himself, divert his mind, and, delve into the depth of Torah and Avodah, and refocus himself and not become sidetracked by all the other distractions. Chacham l'kisha yirtze. If he chose to refocus, he can do so. The Aruch Laner, the Akdama, he writes that, he says, it's like I have two brains, two parts in my brain. One which deals with earthly matters, worldly matters, and one which deals with Torah. And he says, I'm able to just shift. I could just snap of a finger, just shift away into the other area of my brain and just focus on Torah, irrespective of, everything that's just falling over the place, and anything that happened, it's going to happen. I could just zoom into the Torah, and it's as though I'm, totally, oblivious to anything else that's going on. It takes talent, it takes training, it takes a lot of training. So that was Chacham l'kisha yirtze. Okay, let's move on. Rabbi Tarfon was described as Gal shel egoisen, a pile of nuts. And Rashi says, basically, anything you ask him, any Talmud who would come ask him a question, he would bring him a raya. He would quote from Chumash and Medrash and Mishnayos and Agoda, Halacha. You just pile it on. Anything you want to know, he can tell you. Rabbi Shmuel was a chanus, a store miyuzenes, which always had, all products were ready available. A fully stocked store. Anything you need to know, he can provide it for you. Tosfos brings two definitions to miyuzenes, either lashon of mazain, fully stocked with products, and miyuzenes lashon ziyun, lashon of equipped, like clay zayin, armed. So he had a ready answer for every question. That's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva was oitzar balam. So oitzar means a store. Balam. So balam means closed up, meaning it was compartmentalized. He had everything in a separate compartment. And interesting that Rashi learns that this really highlights the uniqueness of Rabbi Kiva, because when he learned the material from his Rabbeim, it was all sort of a mishmash. He would learn a little this, a little that. He would just gather anything he can get. Some halacha, some medrash, some agoda, but then he sat down and reviewed everything with clarity and organized everything into its own compartment. This goes here, this goes there. So in his brain he had different compartments. Everything was clean and organized and closed up and separated without any confusion. So full clarity despite his vast knowledge. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, he had a different title, Kupas HaRoichlem. He's compared to the stock that the Roichel, the peddler, brings with him. So basically, the Roichel comes to town, the customer wants this, he says, here, take. The other thing, here. So you can provide anything you need. But it was a bit different than Rabbi Kiva, because Rabbi Kiva initially learned everything like all as one, whereas and then went and organized it. The Maila of Kupas HaRoichlem is a bit different. It's that he has everything you need, but apparently initially when he learned it, it was also organized, so he didn't have that extra step of reorganizing everything. Okay, a different approach. Then we have Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov ben Azariah. He was kupash al besamim, very similar to the kupas hareichlim, but this is a bit different. This is a container which has compartments in which they store various types of incense and spices. So it's not as, it's more like a sample, not as much variety as the previous description. It's more of a lesser quantity, and therefore it's not as difficult. It's a lower madrega, but still everything was there, everything was provided. Whatever you need, he can answer and provide clarity. We have Mishnah Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Kavan Naki. Whenever Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov presented a halach, whenever he taught something, it was kav, meaning it's not so often that we have Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov quoted in the Mishnayos. So it's few and far in between, but v'noki. Whenever we have a halacha from him, it's clean, it's clear, and we paskin like that. Interesting that the Rabbi Chanal brings Pia Kabbalah from we have a Kabbalah that Kav is the Rashi Tevos. Kav stands for 102. In 102 places, we have Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov and we paskin like him. Kav v'noki. So basically, he didn't teach as much as all his other colleagues, Rashi says, but whatever he said was to the point, and halacha k'moiseh la'olam, and that's the halacha that we adopt. And finally, we have Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Yesi would explain himself. He wouldn't just paskin this, that. He would explain himself. It would always be with an explanation, a convincing explanation. And we have Rabbi Shimon, who was toichein harbi u'moitzi kima. So he would mill, he would grind a lot, he would learn a lot, u'moitzi kima, and if he ever forgot anything, it was just a little bit. But the vast majority of what he learned, he retained. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, mishakeach kima, it means to say that he would forget, but just a little bit of his learning. And whatever he forgot, einei moitzi ela subin. It was typically, things that did not conform to the halacha. Those are the things that he forgot, but the important things he remembered. V'chein amar Rabbi Shimon talmidav. And likewise, Rabbi Shimon, who we're speaking about, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he turned to his talmidim. He says, "Banai, my sons, my children, shanu midaisei, please respect and value. Learn my halachas and my Torah that I'm teaching you. Shemidaisei, because the Torah that I'm teaching you have already been sifted, and these are the purest halachas. Shemidaisei trumois. Truma is like what you separate from the rest. This is it's been separated. It's been chosen. Mitrumois midoisav Rabbi Akiva, from the best of Rabbi Akiva's learning. Rabbi Akiva was his rabbi, and Rabbi Akiva had already sorted out his learning and gave me over the best of his learning, and then all the Torah that I received from Rabbi Akiva, I already chose the best of those. The other ones I just discarded, I forget, but the ikar halachas, the important things, the real clear halachas that I have retained, you can be sure they have been chosen again, and you can rely on them and value them. Okay, it's interesting that many chachamim, each one with his own uniqueness, his own personality, his own approach to learning. Every year has his own chelik and Torah, and Be'ez Hashem we should be zeicha to that chelik and Torah. Okay, Gufa, let's go back to the halacha that we mentioned yesterday. Amar l'shnai, we have a husband who turns to two people, Reuben and Shimon, and he says, "Look, imru l'sefer v'yichtiv. Please instruct that the sefer should write my get. V'lepleni upleni v'yachtmu, and ask two Edom to sign the get. So it's not you; you'll ask somebody else." Amar Ravuna Marav, kosher, it works. Because we're going with the shita that by Imru, when he specifically asked, that they delegate, that they instruct others to actually carry out the task, it works. We can do that. Still, Rav Huna Marav says, it's true, it's kosher, it's a valid get, but litasa can be Yisrael, but you shouldn't be doing this amongst Yisrael, meaning it's not something we recommend. And the question will be why. Amarle Ula Rav Nachman. So Ula asks Rav Nachman. Ramila, some say it was Rav Nachman who asked Ula, why? Ma'achad the kosher, if it's really a valid get. Why should it not be done? Amar Lacy says, you know why? There's always a chance that the Isha may have hired some false witnesses to go and promote this get and go and ask people to write this get. They'll pretend that they were instructed by the husband, which isn't the case, and they'll go ask a sefer to write the get in the name of the husband, and go to Edom and ask to sign the get in the name of the husband. And therefore we shouldn't be doing this. Why are we concerned? We have a brisa. If we have a purchase document on a field, and there are two witnesses signed on that shtar, or two witnesses signed on a get isha, are they allowed to go and now buy the field from the new buyer? Or are they allowed to remarry this isha who just got divorced by way of this get which they were involved with? Or shall we be concerned that perhaps they're just setting the whole thing up to give them access to the field or to the isha? Chachamim are not concerned that two Edom, who are otherwise known as upright people, are going to forge things and set things up falsely. So the question is, why are we concerned in our case that she'll hire people to go find the sefer in Edom? Answer is Ma'aseh Liyavdi. Big difference between actually falsifying a document that your typical person wouldn't do. But diburu ka'amri. But words are cheap, perhaps. Well, they'll take it lightly. We'll just go ask somebody to write the get and pretend we're coming in the name of the husband. That's a lighter offense which people perhaps can be suspected of doing falsely. Continues the Gemara. What about this case? Amar l'shnaim, husband asks two people. Ask the sefer to write the get, but you personally, I want you to sign it, not to ask others, but you yourself will do it. Does this work or not? Rav Chizda Amar kasher v'leisasa. It's kosher, but still you shouldn't be doing it. Now the question is, why not? You see, in the previous case, diburu ka'amri, we said that, there is a chashash that perhaps we have hired Edom that are going to go falsify, they're going to ask people to write and sign, because it's just a matter of their words. But to actually sign falsely, knowingly sign falsely, that they wouldn't do. So in this case, why would we be concerned that perhaps they falsify the shtar personally? It's a ma'isa, right? He asked the people to go get a sefer, but they themselves should do the signing. So why should we be concerned that perhaps they were hired by the isha to sign the get, but they wouldn't do a ma'asa to falsify and forge a shtar? And Rashi says, it's a good question, because if we allow this, perhaps it's going to lead us to the other case, which is a problem. So that's Rav Chiz's approach. But Rabbi Bar Chana disagreed. He says, Amar, yeah, you can do it, kasha, v'tasa, there's no concern of falsification. Rabbi Nachman Amar kasha v'loisas, Sheshes Amar kasha v'sasa. Okay, we are back and forth, yes, no, Rabbi Amar kasha v'loisasa. Rabbi Yosef Amar kasha v'sasa, v'ikka da apech. Some switch around Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef and reverse their opinions. Continues the Gemara. Amar la sora kisvuget. So the Mishnah concluded with this halacha. So it's after Mincha and Shul. He turns to the whole minyan, to 10 people, and he says, Rabbi Isai, could you please write a get on my behalf? Tanu Rabbanon, Amar la Sara Kisvu, get, and some take out the word utnu. Kisvu get li ishti. She tells all 10 people to write the get. They don't all have to actually physically write it. Echad kaisiv aydei kulam. All we need is one sefer who's going to write the get. Bishvil kulam, Rashi says, for all of them. They don't all need to be involved, because he didn't specify kulchem. He just said, Rabbi said, write my get. So one of them writes the get, and that's okay. But if he specifies kulchem, k'seivu, I want all of you to write the get. I want all of yours involvement. I want everybody involved. Echad, koisev, v'mamat kulam. So one sefer writes the get in everybody's presence. Everybody has to be involved. Likewise, he turns to 10 people, please deliver the get to my wife. So one can do it. One can do it on behalf of all. But if he asks specifically, everybody should bring the get. They all have to go along with him. Here comes an interesting question. What if he turns to 10 people and he goes through their names, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, without saying the word kulchem? How do we treat that? Rav Huna Amar Mana Einakil Kulchem. That's not like kulchem. Otherwise, he would have said kulchem. So here, you don't need all of theirs involvement. Rabbi Yehuda, Shimon Belezer, the Ben Reima Amar. No, Mana. Enumeration. Naming them by name. Hariyukul Kulchem has the same status as kulchem, and they all have to be involved. Amar Papa V'lei Pligi, there isn't really a machlekes here. It all depends how far he went in naming the group. Hadamana Kulu depends if he named them all. He went through all their names one by one. V'hadamana Miksisayu, or he only named part of them. What does this mean? Amrila Lahaigisa. So some Chachamim interpreted it one way. V'amrila Lahaigisa, and others interpreted it differently. Meaning like this. Some Chachamim held that when he names them all, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, all the way till the end, he meant, all of you be involved, personally. As opposed to where he only named part of them, Rashi says, apparently he had a change of heart. Why did he stop in the middle? Why did he start and stop in the middle? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, he stops there. Apparently he changed his mind, and he realizes it's not practical, It's okay if any of you does it. You don't all have to be involved. That's one approach. Amr lahagisa. So naming them all requires all theirs involvement, and naming only part of them does not require even those individuals to be involved. Anybody can do it. Anybody in the group can do it. Amr lahagisa. Others had a different approach, just the opposite. If he goes through some of their names, that's indicative of his insistence and on having them. Look, I named you, you, and you. Specifically, I want you to be involved. All of you. Right? All 5 of you be involved. As opposed to a fellow who went through all their names. He doesn't literally mean they all have to be involved. He meant, anybody amongst you can take care of it. Because otherwise, if he would have wanted all of their involvement, he would have said kulchem. He would have clearly said, I want all you involved. Why do you have to go through the names? Apparently, he was just naming them by name. Getting their attention. But of course, anybody amongst them can take care of it. So you have 2 ways to learn this distinction. Continues the Gemara. Askin Rabbi Yehuda Bekita, the Kulchem. So Rabbi Yehuda was masakin that in a case where a husband gets up in front of a crowd and asks them to look after his get for him, so Rabbi Yehuda was masakin to avoid any confusion, that best thing is that we write all the options into the get. That he should write like this. Kseivu oy kulchan oy kol chad v'chad minchain. They should write into the get that they were instructed by the husband to do, whichever. Either option works. Kseivu oy kulchan. Either all of you do it together as one, right? Like we said before, or anybody amongst you can do it on his own. So both options are open. That's regarding the ksiva saket. Same thing regarding the chasima saket. Chasaimu, the husband told us, sign oikulchan, all of you, oikol tremin chayin, or 2 of you. Oivilu, same thing regarding delivering the get. So you write this in the get. The husband has instructed us to deliver the get. We have a choice. Either method is acceptable. Oy kulchan, or all of you together, oy kol chad v'chad mechayin, or any one of you on his own. This way we covered all the options, and ultimately they can choose, they can decide whichever option to pick. Either do it as a group or individually. Amar Rava, that's not a good option. Zimnan the guys like dibure. You're adding too much here. And, perhaps he'll just drop, he'll forget to write part of this formula. Right? V'amar kulchain v'loi amar kol chad v'chad m'chain. What's the psule? Because when they sit down to write the get, they might omit the part of this formula. They'll just write, okay, the husband told us, all of us, and they were supposed to write all of us or any one of us, and they'll forget to write that second part. And now, if it turns out that one in the group was missing, it will be possible. So you're making it worse for yourself by adding too much. Elam Rava says, Rava, rather keep it short and to the point. Play it safe. This is what they should write in the get. The husband has instructed us as follows. Any one of you can write the get. Any two of you can sign the get. Any one of you can bring the get. That's it. This way we're safe. Meaning, don't write kulchem in the star at all, to avoid any confusion. Okay, so bottom line, we pass on Rabbi Yesi, mili lemimser and l'shliach. If you were instructed to write a get, do it yourself. Don't pass it on to the next person. However, in the case of Imru, when the husband specifically asked this fellow to pass it on, we have that distinction in the Mili Mimsran halacha. So if it's clear that he wants it to be passed on, there Shmuel disagreed with Rabbi Yesi, held that you can do that, and we have two cases. In one case, the Gemara says we shouldn't do it because there's a concern about the Isha getting involved and falsifying the get. In case number two, where the concern has been mitigated, there we have a back and forth. Some say okay, some say not, because of the Gzera. When a person turns to a group and he says, listen, all of you, kulchem, all of you be involved, they must all be involved. Otherwise, one of them can serve as a representative. What if he actually singled them out by name? Well, it depends if he went through the entire group or only part of the group. We have two approaches. Which way is what? And then we have Rava's conclusion, a get that was done in a public setting should have that specification that the husband did not require the entire group to be involved. This way you're safe. Hadran Allah Chaimer. Okay, we begin a new parak. Parak Shvi, Misha Achse. Misha Achse Kurdiyaikis. So a fellow was gripped by this Kurdiyaikis condition. Rashi says it's the name of a Shida, a female demon, which affects a person when he drinks a lot of Yain Harbi Migita, fresh wine off the press, perhaps only partially fermented. So this somehow makes him susceptible to this Kurdiyaikis demon. So he doesn't have all his faculties, and he's lacking in yishuv hadas, in focus. So what happens if he says v'amar kisvu get liishti? He tells him to write a get for his wife. V'amar klum. It's worthless. It's meaningless. Rashi says shein da'atim yishevas. He's ill. He's unwell. He's in a haphazard mood, and we can't necessarily know that he's mindful of what he's saying. Likewise, Amar Kisvu get liishti v'chazer kardiakus. Suppose he had previously instructed us to write a get, and then he was gripped by this condition. V'chazer v'amalech tevenu. And then he changes his mind. He says, by the way, while he's in this kardiakus condition, he says, no, I want to cancel the get. Ein dvarav hachreinim klum. We disregard these words because they're meaningless. Likewise, nishtatik. Suppose he suddenly becomes mute. They ask him, they see that he's interested in divorcing, and they double check with him, Nichtav get l'ishcha, do you want us to write a get? And he nods with his head, yes, v'hirkin b'roishai. So we have to confirm that in fact he understands the process. We check him 3 times. Im amar lav lav v'alein, if he responded, in a coherent fashion, he motioned no on something which she was meant to motion no. Likewise, he motioned a yes when that was in place. So we see that he's on the money, understands what's going on. So they should go and write and give the get. Maiku the yaikus. What exactly is this? How does it come? Amar Shmuel the Nakse. Nakse means he was bitten. It's just an expression. He was affected by this illness when he drank chamra chada to the matzarta, fresh wine out of the press. And as we learned, this is the shade which affects him. Velisni mishan ashcha yain chadash. Why does the mission just state it clearly? Instead of saying kurdiyaikas, which is some sort of cryptic term, a person who was who had consumed this wine and was affected by it. The point of the Mishnah is to name it by name. The harucha kurdiyaikas shma, that the ruach, that the evil spirit that affects him due to this condition, is called kurdiyaikas manaf kamina. What's the point of knowing this? What's the benefit? The kamiyah. If one wants to write an amulet to counter the effect of this spirit, you should know how to address it by name. Maya susei, what's the remedy? How do we counter this condition? Bisros sumka, red meat. Rashi calls it kachush, lean, non-fatty meat. Agumri, roasted on coals, so barbecued meat. V'chamra marka, and very diluted wine. Okay, that's going to get him out of his condition. Now, before we begin the next sugya, it's interesting to note. First of all, why does the Gemara, bring many various refuahs for various sicknesses? How does it pertain to the Gemara? Why is it important for the Talmud Bavli to discuss medical matters? So actually, the Maharsha explains that it's meant to highlight that the knowledge, the vast knowledge and understanding of the Chachmei Talmud. We should understand that Torah encompasses everything. And he says a person can find a refuah, a medicine, a remedy for every single condition, every single sickness, le'aleinu. If one really understands the intricacies of the lashonos of the Gemara and the processes that are mentioned in the Gemara, which of course is beyond us, but the point is just to highlight the fact that Torah is all-encompassing, and all the chachmas are included in the Torah and the Gemara. Now, practically speaking, regarding actually employing these refuahs bizman hazeh, so it's interesting that Tosfos and Moed Katan of Yud Aleph tells us that the refuahs mentioned in the Shas are not necessarily applicable and relevant and beneficial nowadays because the natures have changed. The Gemara there speaks about a fish which is about to spoil. That's the best thing. Well, today we know it's dangerous. So basically, things have changed in the physical realm, and therefore it's inapplicable. We cannot necessarily benefit from these refuahs. In fact, the Yam Shel Shloimeh brings that there's a cherem. It's forbidden. A cherem hakadmonim, to make use of these refuahs, sheloi lahotzi la'az al chachamim, because as we explained, they aren't necessarily going to work nowadays, and therefore there's always a chance that a person will bring a person to negate and challenge and question the words of the Chachamim when he finds the refuahs to be ineffective. Instead of attributing it to the Shinui HaTeva, he's going to laugh at the Divrei Chazal, and therefore we're not meant to use these refuahs. And the Shulchan Aruch brings, the Rekiv Egan Shulchan Aruch Yeridea brings it as well in the name of the Maharil, that we're not proficient with the specifics and the processes as described in the Gemara, and therefore a person should keep away from actually trying to implement these remedies. Okay, so not only that, Amar Abaye, says Abaye. We know that Abaye had been adopted. He was a Yasem. Amar Li'em, so my caretaker mother, my adopted mother, told me like this. L'shim Shabbos Shem. If a person is being affected by a fever, so it's the first day that he has that fever, what is the solution? Kuza de Maya. Drink a pitcher of water. Bastra Yaimi. If he has it for 2 days, Sichurei, he should do some bloodletting. Bast Losayami. If it's the third day, Bisra Sumka Agumri. Take some lean meat, roast it on coals, V'chamar Marka, and diluted wine, which will cool him off. L'shim Sha'atikta. It's already an old fever that he's experiencing. Lacy tarnagos uchmasi. He should bring a black chicken, and tear it back and forth 2 ways. And shave the middle of his head. Put that torn chicken on him, and let it sit there until the blood sort of sticks it to his head. And descend into a pool of water. And stand in the water up until his neck, until he's totally weakened. And swim a bit, and get out of there, and have a seat. If it doesn't work, he should eat some leek. Once again, go down to the water, and go down until neck deep in water, until he's totally weakened, and this will somehow alleviate his fever condition. And swim out, and get out, and sit down. L'shimsha, if he is experiencing the heat, right, the fever that we just said, so we're drawing a contrast. L'shimsha, if it's fever, if he's affected by heat, in which case the remedy is to counter that heat and cool himself off. So as we said, right, have that lean meat, unfatty meat, with the diluted wine, that will cool him off. But that's to cool him off. In contrast to a person who's experiencing a cold, in which case he has to warm himself up. That's the antidote. L'talga, if he caught a cold due to being exposed to snow, talga is snow. So here he goes the other way. Bisra shmeina, take a piece of real fatty meat, agrumri, roasted on coals, v'chamra chaya, and fresh, strong wine. That is sure to heat him up, warm him up, and counter that fever which he caught together with his cold. So there's a story regarding Rav Amram Chassid. Rav Amram, the great Chassid, Kava Mitzar and Lei Beis Reish Galusa. So the residents of the Reish Galusa, of the headed community in Bavel, so the people there weren't necessarily of the highest caliber. They were the Jewish mafia, so they would give him a hard time. Rashi says because he was a Chassid and he would be machmer on them. So how did they get back at him? Havav magnele atalga. They would put him down in the snow. The next day when he caught a cold, what would you like us to serve you? What would you like us to bring you? Omar, so he figured, he's got to warm up, right? So he figured, honey, these gangsters here, kol daminalu, whatever I'll tell them, mafchi, afchi, they'll bring me the opposite. So I have to ask them the opposite of what I need. Omar, he tells them, bisra, sumka, agrumri, v'chamra marka. Bring me the lean meat with the diluted wine. So what did they bring him? Of course, what he needed. Aisule inu, bisra shmeina, they brought him fatty meat, agrumra, v'chamra chaya, and fresh wine, which was perfect for his condition. Now, Yalsa was a woman who was Rav Nachman's wife. Rav Nachman was the son-in-law of the head of the community, so she was the daughter of the Nasi, and she had pity on Rav Amram, who was being harassed by the members of the household there. Shama Yalsa, so Yalsa heard what happened, and she arranged that he be brought into the bathhouse to warm up, and they put him into the bathhouse water, ad the ma'apchi maya, and he heated up and he warmed up, ad the mahavchi maya the bemesusa, until the water of the bathhouse had changed colors, v'havudama, and turned like blood red, red because of the reddish moisture which exuded from Rav Amram Chasida, who had undergone this sweating, warming up process. V'havudama, and it looked like blood. And his skin was healed and exhibited these white spots, these white marks due to this warming process. Rav Yosef i'asik b'rechaya. When Rav Yosef was in need of warming himself up, when he was affected by a cold, he would go and he'd busy himself with that mill, warm himself up, running the grinder to get himself warmed up. Rav Sheshes i'asik b'kshuri. Rav Sheshes would carry beams around. Amar, he would say, G'doilo malacha, look how great it is to do exercise, do work, shemechamemes balel, which warms up the exerciser. I recall Rabbi Belsky used to quote this Gemara, speaking about the virtues of a person doing exercise and staying in shape. And Omar le Rosh Kalusa, Rav Sheshes. Rosh Kalusa, the head of the the community there, he turned to Rav Sheshes. How come you don't join us for meals? Apparently this was common practice for Chacham to come to the Rosh Kalusa's table. My time lesoid margaban. Why do you refuse to come join us during mealtime? Omar le, she says to the Rosh Kalusa, look, I trust you, but I have a problem with your slaves, with your servants. The loy ma'alu avdi. Your avadim are not of the highest, spiritual level. The chashidi a'eva menachai. They're suspected of feeding eva menachai. Amar le. So the Rish Galusa was taken aback. Mi yemar. Who says? How do you know that's true? Amar le. He says, I'll show it to you personally. Hashta machvin lach. I'm going to demonstrate it to you. Amar le l'shami. So if Sheshes turned to his own assistant, he says, look, we're gonna set them up. Zil gnoiv, go remove aisili chadakara mechiyusa. I know they're preparing an animal for lunch. Go steal one of the legs of the animal. Okay, aisi leg. So the shamus did as told. He brought the leg, and now the animal was missing a leg. The shechted animal. Amar lahu. So now the Rav Sheshes turned to the avodim. He says, you're serving a nice meal. Could you please put together all the parts of the behemoth that you're serving? Ahadmuli hadmi. Could you set up all the cuts of meat together? Ahadmuli hadmi de chayusa. Okay. Aisu, so they did as told. Aisu tlas kari. They put together the animal, which now only had 3 legs. It was missing the 4th. Asiva coming, they presented it to Rabbi Sheshes. Amar Luz, he says, well, what happened to the 4th one? Habalas shalosh regolam havai. It only had 3 legs. Look, there's a cut. It looks like it had 4. So what did they do? He says, sure, we'll get it. Come. Pasuk. So they removed a leg from a living animal. Aisu chadumi amal. So they brought this leg from elsewhere. Oisivu kamei, and they put it together with the other legs to complete the animal. Amar le l'shamei. So if Sheshes now turned to his own personal attendant, bring out that leg that you removed from the kitchen. Oisvei nami lach lidach. Put down your leg as well. Oisvei, he put it down. Amar lahu. So now it had 5. Hai bas chamesh raglaim havai. So he asked them, well, this animal had 5 legs. Wow, this is something unusual. So basically, the Reish Galusa got the message. He got the point across. And he realized that they were chashan, even menachai. Amar le. So he told Rav Sheshes, okay, you don't trust them. If that's the case, going forward, make an arrangement to have a mashgiach tamidi. They'll prepare the meal in the presence of Shami Demar, the attendant of Rav Sheshes. We'll have a mashgiach, v'leichel, and then you can eat. Amar leis, Rav Sheshes says, l'chayi. Sure, no problem. L'chayi is lashon of l'chayim. Okay, deal. So now they had a mashgiach. Krivu taku kamayu. So they brought the table in front of them. Va'aisu kamei bistro, and they brought some meat in front of Rav Sheshes. Va'isivu kamei, and which portion did they give Rav Sheshes? Ristana. Ristana means a portion. The chanka chamsa. So Rashi explains, there was a small teeny bone in the knee area of the animal that's dangerous. If a person swallows it, he can choke. And that's the exact cut of meat that they presented to Rav Sheshes in order to trip him up. Now it's called the Chanka Chamsa because they bring a story that Ben Yehuda brings it, that it was called Chanka Chamsa because it was a Maisa Shoya that a daughter-in-law who disliked her mother-in-law, who was overbearing and made her miserable, and she brought to her this bone, this piece of basar with this specific bone, so that she can choke. Chanka Chamsa, it choked the mother-in-law. So that's how it got its name. In any case, these fellows were no different. They were trying to choke Rav Sheshes for giving them a hard time, for putting them in a bad light. Rav Sheshes was smarter than that. Gashashe, so he tapped, he felt the piece of meat, and when he got to the he noticed the bone stuck in there, so he didn't eat it. V'shakla, he took the whole piece of meat, karcha b'sudra, and wrapped it in his sudar, in his kerchief, and he put it away. The basar the achel, So after they finished their meal, Amrilei igniv lon kasa de kaspa. So apparently they noticed that he was putting something away. So they made this announcement that they lost their goblet. Their silver goblet was stolen, and we want to go check all our guests and see where it's sitting. As they were checking, so of course they discovered this cut of meat wrapped in the sudar that Rav Sheshes had put away. Amri lei. So the avodim turned to their boss, the Reish Galusa. Take a look, look what he's doing to us. Chazi Mar, look, Mar, our master. The loy mechal kaboy. Rav Sheshes is not interested in eating. He's interested in enjoying our meal. He's just giving us a hard time. Look, he's not even eating. He put away the meat. He never intended on joining us. This whole thing with Ever Ben Achai, it wasn't genuine. He was just trying to make us trouble. Amar Lahu, so Rav Sheshes responded to them, Ana mechal ka'achli. I was trying to eat. I came to join your meal. I had no ulterior motives here. I just want to eat kosher. What happened was v'tami beitama de chivra. What happened was that I took a bite and I discerned a tam of an animal that had shechin, had some sort of skin condition. That's what it tasted like. And that's why I put it away. Tosfos explains that apparently he was trying to, when he was being boidik that piece of meat, right? He was gashashe v'shakli. He was feeling it out until he figured, okay, let him. He was going to cut out the piece that he felt was not healthy. But then he ended up bumping into that bone, so he put the whole thing away. So in any case, this animal that you fed us was an unhealthy animal. Amrulay, so they responded, no, we never. We don't know of any such animal that was prepared today. Amar Lucy told him, Bitku beduchte. Yeah, you should check the skin of the animal, which was lying above this piece of meat that you have served me. And you'll see that I'm right. Rav Chizr tells us, Uchma bechivra. If you find a black mark on a white animal, bechivra b'uchmasa, or a white mark on a black animal, l'kusi. It's an indication of something, it's unwell, some sort of illness, some sort of malady. So in fact, they checked baduk vashkechua. So they checked the skin that they had removed from the animal, and in fact, they discovered that there was this simon there, and this served to prove that Rav Sheshes is right. So now they were really agitated against Rav Sheshes Hikanafik. As he was leaving the thing there, the house, Karale Bira. They dug a pit so they can stumble to the pit. And they disguised it by running a mat over it, so he wouldn't see the pit. We know Rav Sheshes was blind. And they turned to Rav Sheshes, maybe you should go rest a bit. Rav Chizda was standing behind him, and he detected the danger here, and he quickly made a sound, some sort of sound, so that Rav Sheshes is tipped off. Rav Sheshes picked up that something was amiss. He turned to the child to try to get an indication. Please tell me what you're learning. Tell me the pasuk that you're holding it. He told him, I'm holding at this pasuk. Turn either to the right or to the left. So Rav Sheshes took that as a hint, as a message from heaven. So turned to his attendant, Micah Chazes, tell me what do you see in front of us? It's a piece of the shadi. He says, I see a mat lying there. He says, perfect, let's get away from there. Turn away from the mat. Don't have me walk over it. After he left the house safely, Rav Chizr turned to Menav Yadamar. How'd you know that you were in danger? He says 3 reasons. First of all, Chada, number 1, the Nachalimar. Don't you remember? You made me that sound to warn me. Number 2, the Pasuk Linuka Psuka. The child gave me that pasuk, which was a clear indication of imminent danger. And number 3, I know my customers. The Chashidi Avdid Leimalu. I know these Avodim in the Reish Galusa's home. that I wouldn't put anything past him, and of course, I was extra vigilant, and Baruch Hashem, I was saved. Okay, so in summary, we had the sugi of the get, which was meant to be carried out by shluchim. Question is, can they ask others to do it on their behalf? The next sugi was kulchem, whether all of them have to be involved, or only part of them, depending on how the husband offered his instructions. We had the Mishnah about the Kurdiyakas fellow, and he cannot be involved in either issuing a get or canceling a get, in contrast to the fellow who became muted, nishtatik. There, we can actually determine his level of intelligence by asking him, by questioning him, and having him respond by shaking his head. Interestingly enough, the Mishnah seems to only apply this method to the nishtatik and not to the Kudayakas. And the Ran learns that by the Kudayakas fellow, we know for a fact that he's lacking intelligence. He's now not in a state of mind that he can actually know what's going on, and therefore, even if we have boidik him, perhaps it's not a true indication of intelligence, and therefore it doesn't work. Whereas from the Meiri, it would sound like this method of discerning intelligence works even by the Kuriyakis fellow. And the Aruch HaShulchan seems to say that it's a suffix, so if it's actually done, it's a suffix migureshes. We learned about the Kuriyakis, how it happens, and what to do about it, what to do about other illnesses, such as the heat of a fever, which has to be cooled off, or the cold of the talga of the snow, which has to be heated up. That's the way out. We had a story about the Amram Chasida interacting with the Bnei Rish Galuso, gave him a hard time. And likewise, the way of Sheshis dealt with the people in the Rish Galusha's home and put them in their place, and ultimately was protected from their evil schemes. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.